Every once in a while, a game drops that feels like absolute perfection. And in the last couple of years, we've been spoiled. Whether you're hunting monsters, surviving horrors, or exploring gorgeous open worlds, here are 20 perfect 10 by 10 recent games you must play. Let's dive right in.
Nice and easy.
Alright, so I recently played Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and honestly, I can't stop thinking about it. This game is one of the most artistically striking experiences I've had in years. The visual design feels like a living painting, haunting, dreamlike, and completely surreal. But it's not just the art that impressed me. The turn-based combat has this brilliant timing mechanic that makes every move feel deliberate and engaging, almost like a rhythm game, but with high-stakes strategy. The story itself is mysterious and emotionally rich, exploring themes of mortality, memory, and the meaning of resistance in a dying world. I genuinely felt connected to the characters, especially the protagonist, who carries this quiet strength. It's a slow burn, but in the best way, rewarding you for paying attention and embracing the strange. I went in expecting something artsy and niche, but what I got was one of the most original and emotionally resonant RPGs I've played in a long time. This game is special, and I can't recommend it enough. I've been playing Monster Hunter Wilds recently, and it's easily the most immersive and refined entry in the series. Right from the start, I was blown away by how dynamic the world felt. The weather and ecosystem actually affect the behavior of the monsters and even your strategies during hunts. Tracking a massive beast through a thunderstorm was one of the most intense gaming moments I've had in a while. The new mounts and gear system add depth without feeling overwhelming, and the co-op experience with friends is seamless and satisfying. What really stuck with me is how alive the environments are. Whether I was hiding in tall grass to heal or getting caught in a sandstorm mid-fight, everything felt unpredictable and wild, just like the title promises. The sense of accomplishment after a hard-earned victory is still unmatched. If you're even remotely into action RPGs or co-op games, Monster Hunter Wilds delivers in every way. It's not just a game, it's an adrenaline rush. Playing Indiana Jones in the Great Circle felt like stepping into one of the classic films, and as someone who grew up with Indy, this game hit me right in the nostalgia. But it's more than just fan service, it's a genuinely great adventure game. The mix of puzzle-solving, exploration, and first-person action worked surprisingly well. There were moments where I was sliding under traps, deciphering ancient symbols, and swinging over chasms with Indy's iconic whip. It was everything I imagined doing as a kid. The writing is clever, the set pieces are cinematic, and the pacing keeps you hooked from one exotic location to the next. I especially appreciated the mix of stealth and combat, letting me choose how to approach different situations. It's not trying to reinvent the genre, but it nails what it sets out to do. If you're looking for an action-adventure game that captures the spirit of discovery, danger, and humor, this is a ride you shouldn't miss. Jumping into Shadow of the Erdtree felt like waking up in a dream I never wanted to leave. As someone who poured countless hours into Elden Ring, I didn't think From Software could top the base game, but they absolutely did. The new regions are massive, mysterious, and layered with that same chilling beauty the Lands Between is known for. Every corner I turned, there was something unsettling waiting. A grotesque enemy, a hidden cave, or a lore breadcrumb that added more depth to the already dense mythology. The boss fights are harder, more imaginative, and demand even more precision. But it's not just the difficulty. It's the way the game makes you feel small in a world that doesn't care if you live or die. And yet, you keep pushing forward. The storytelling is subtle but powerful, and I couldn't help but feel like I was part of something ancient and mythic. It's not just DLC, it's a masterpiece on its own.
I will not suffer.
When I started Avowed, I wasn't sure what to expect, but after just a few hours, I was completely hooked. Obsidian has built a world that feels alive and steeped in history, and the writing, like always, is absolutely top-notch. What stood out to me the most was the freedom in how I approached quests. I could solve problems with diplomacy, brute force, or a bit of clever magic, and the game responded in meaningful ways. The combat system is surprisingly deep, with spellcasting and weapon switching that feels fluid and intuitive. But more than anything, I loved the characters. They aren't just NPCs, they're people with beliefs, grudges, and goals of their own. I constantly found myself caught between moral choices that didn't feel black and white. Avowed made me think, made me care, and most importantly, made me feel like I had control over how the story unfolded. It's an RPG lover's dream come true. Playing Black Myth Wukong was like stepping into a myth. This game blew me away with its visuals, but it's the gameplay that kept me coming back. The combat is intense and demands focus. Every dodge, parry, and transformation feels earned. As the Monkey King, I felt powerful but never invincible. The enemy design is wild, and some of the boss fights are straight up legendary in scale and challenge. But beyond the action, what really impressed me was how the game tells its story through atmosphere and subtle moments. There's a strange, almost poetic quality to the world, with folklore and fantasy woven into every inch of the journey. The transformations and abilities are not just cool, they're strategic, and using them in the right moment is incredibly satisfying. I didn't expect to be this emotionally invested, but Wukong surprised me. It's not just a flashy action game, it's a beautifully crafted epic. I recently dove into the Silent Hill 2 remake, and wow, this is how you honor a classic. The original game terrified and moved me years ago, but this remake somehow feels even more personal and haunting. The updated visuals and sound design are absolutely top tier. Everything from the fog-choked streets to the echoing halls of Brookhaven Hospital drips with dread. But what really hit me was the emotional weight of James Sunderland's story. It's just as tragic and disturbing as I remembered, but the new voice acting and subtle character animation added layers of depth I didn't expect. Combat is smoother, but still retains that feeling of vulnerability. This isn't about empowerment, it's about survival and guilt. Every moment feels heavy. If you've played the original, this is the definitive version. And if you haven't, prepare for one of the most unsettling, psychologically rich experiences gaming has ever offered. Playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth felt like reuniting with an old friend, but one who's grown more complex and exciting than ever. The world is sprawling and vibrant, with each location bursting with side quests, secrets, and character moments. What struck me most was the way the game balances nostalgia with bold narrative shifts. As someone who adored the original, I found myself constantly surprised, in a good way. The combat system is easily one of the best in the series, mixing tactical thinking with flashy, responsive action, but it's the character development that truly shines. Cloud, Tifa, Barret, and Aerith feel more real, more vulnerable, and more interconnected than ever before. The emotional beats land harder, and I genuinely teared up during a few scenes. Rebirth doesn't just remake a classic, it expands and elevates it. It's ambitious, heartfelt, and in my opinion, one of the best RPGs of the generation. Swinging back into the world of Marvel's Spider-Man 2 was like putting on a perfectly tailored suit. It just fits. The traversal is smoother than ever, with web wings adding verticality and speed that makes movement addictive on its own. But beyond the mechanics, the story hit me harder than I expected. Balancing the arcs of both Peter and Miles, the game dives into identity, legacy, and what it really means to be a hero. Venom's presence brings a darker, more emotional tone, and some of the set pieces are pure blockbuster material. I found myself genuinely torn between who to play as because both characters are so well developed. The combat has been refined too, with new gadgets and symbiote powers that make every fight feel cinematic and brutal. The city feels more alive, with small interactions that add richness to the open world. For me, this isn't just a superhero game. It's a love letter to Spider-Man fans, and one of the most thrilling stories I've experienced in a game.
MJ wasn't kidding! We gotta help him before he hurts someone! Or himself! What's the plan? Keep him busy! I got an idea! Oh, crap.
Playing Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl is like voluntarily stepping into a nightmare, and I loved every second of it. The zone is terrifyingly beautiful, with radioactive landscapes, abandoned structures, and mutated horrors lurking in the shadows. There's this constant tension that makes even walking through a forest feel dangerous. I felt like I had to earn every bullet, every medkit, and every scrap of gear. The atmosphere is unmatched, lonely, eerie, and totally immersive. What sets this apart is how unforgiving it is without ever feeling unfair. The game doesn't hold your hand, you're dropped in and forced to survive, scavenge, and make gut-wrenching decisions. The story creeps in slowly, but when it hits hard, blending sci-fi and psychological horror with political undertones. I caught myself holding my breath during intense shootouts or when the Geiger counter started clicking. Stalker 2 isn't just a game, it's an experience you feel in your bones.
You brought the thing here? I'm dead!
I've played a lot of Dynasty Warriors games over the years, but Dynasty Warriors Origins surprised me with how fresh and focused it feels. It still has that classic over-the-top hack-and-slash action I love, where you're mowing down hundreds of enemies like a god of war, but now it's wrapped in a more narrative-driven and polished package. The game's new combat refinements make chaining combos more strategic and satisfying, and switching between characters mid-battle adds a layer of tactical depth. What really kept me engaged, though, was how much better the storytelling is this time around. The historical drama hits harder, and there's real weight behind the characters' motivations. I found myself caring more about the fate of each kingdom. The visuals are better than ever, with large-scale battles feeling truly epic in scope. This isn't just another Warriors title, it's a reinvention that respects its roots while finally giving fans the depth and polish we've been waiting for.
Your skills are impressive. No evil may withstand such a righteous blade. We cannot allow ourselves to be pushed back here. Let me handle this for now.
I just finished Stellar Blade, and honestly, I'm still thinking about it. Visually, it's one of the most jaw-dropping games I've played recently. The futuristic cityscapes, the character designs, the cinematic camera angles, it's all stunning. But beneath the style, there's a lot of substance. The combat is tight and punishing in that satisfying Souls-light way, where every dodge and parry matters. I loved how the protagonist, Eve, develops over time, not just as a fighter, but emotionally. The game balances explosive action with slower, introspective moments that made me think about humanity, identity, and sacrifice. And the soundtrack? Absolutely phenomenal. It made every boss fight feel like an event. While some might come for the visuals, I stayed for the world building and emotional storytelling. It's sleek, heartfelt, and refreshingly bold. A sci-fi action RPG that's not afraid to get philosophical while still delivering adrenaline-pumping gameplay. I was skeptical at first. How do you remake something as iconic as Resident Evil 4 without losing its soul? But wow, Capcom nailed it. Playing the remake felt like stepping back into the horror action blend I fell in love with. But everything is crisper, tighter, and scarier. Leon is more grounded, and the dialogue, while still cheesy at times, feels better delivered. The village intro still made my palms sweat, but now the AI is smarter, the gunplay is sharper, and the tension is way more intense. The knife parry mechanic added a layer of depth I didn't know I wanted. Visually, it's incredible. The lighting, shadows, and grotesque details make every encounter a cinematic horror show. And they even expanded on side quests and exploration, which I really appreciated. This wasn't just a coat of paint, it's a full reimagining that respects the original while elevating it. For me, it's the definitive way to play Resident Evil 4 now. Alan Wake 2 completely floored me. I've never played a horror game that felt so deeply narrative-driven and psychologically layered. The game flips between reality and nightmare with such finesse that I was constantly second-guessing what was real. Playing as both Alan and Saga gives the story a dual perspective that adds tension and mystery, and the writing, my god, the writing is like a novel come to life. Remedy took bold creative risks, blending live-action sequences, surreal environments, and noir storytelling into something that felt more like an experience than just a game. The flashlight mechanic and limited ammo keep you on edge, while the new detective elements add cerebral moments to break up the horror. The audio design made my skin crawl, and some of the set pieces left me speechless. It's not just a sequel, it's a masterclass in storytelling, a deep dive into creative madness, and one of the most unique horror games I've ever played. Hi-Fi Rush was one of the most unexpectedly joyful games I've played in a long time. It's this fusion of rhythm and action that just clicks. At first I thought the whole beat-based combat idea was just a gimmick, but once I got the hang of it, it became an addictive rhythm of movement, strikes, and combos that felt so fluid and fun. Every punch lands on the beat, the world bounces to the soundtrack, and the characters are full of energy and charm. The art style is vibrant, almost like a playable cartoon. And the humor lands really well without trying too hard. What surprised me most was how tight the gameplay loop is. It never feels repetitive because each level introduces new ideas, enemies, and musical tracks. It's a game that made me smile non-stop, and in a time when so many games try to be dark and gritty, Hi-Fi Rush is a reminder that video games can still be pure, unfiltered fun.
Pick them out!
Alright guys, I know some of you, maybe most of you, will not agree with me, but I honestly loved Assassin's Creed Shadows. I have been a fan of this franchise since the first AC game, and still loving it no matter what critics said. And honestly, who cares about critics? If you ask me, the dual protagonist system, Yasuke the powerful African samurai, and Naoi the stealthy shinobi, offers such a brilliant contrast in gameplay. I loved switching between brute strength and quiet precision depending on the mission. Feudal Japan is gorgeously recreated here, from cherry blossom forests to dense towns with detailed architecture. It feels alive and immersive, full of side stories, legends, and political drama. Combat is refined and weighty, and stealth is once again genuinely rewarding rather than an afterthought. The RPG elements are more balanced now, and the storyline actually made me care about both protagonists' journeys. This isn't just Assassin's Creed with a katana, it's a bold leap forward, and for the first time in years, I'm excited about where this franchise is going. Banisher's Ghosts of New Eden really caught me off guard with how deeply emotional and philosophical it is. At first, I thought it was just going to be a spooky supernatural action game, but it's so much more. The bond between Red and Antia, lovers torn between life and death, anchors everything, and their dynamic is incredibly moving. Every choice you make has weight, and the moral decisions often had me pausing to think. Should I sacrifice one life to save another? Should I help a ghost move on or banish them forever? It's gripping stuff. The world itself is haunting and beautiful, full of mystery and danger. The combat is solid and gets deeper as you progress, especially when you start swapping between Red's physical attacks and Antia's ghostly powers. But what really kept me hooked was the storytelling. It's rich, personal, and lingers in your mind long after the credits roll. I didn't expect another Crab's Treasure to be such a clever and charming Souls-like, but wow, it really pulls it off. You play as a crab, scavenging the ocean floor for literal trash to use as armor, which sounds ridiculous until you realize how smartly it's done. The combat has real depth with parries, dodges, and a variety of shells that change your stats and abilities. But it's not just the mechanics, it's the world. The underwater environments are beautiful and eerie, with a subtle environmental message beneath the surface. I found myself laughing at the witty dialogue and then immediately getting serious during boss fights that were actually tough and well designed. There's a balance of humor and challenge that feels really fresh. It's weird, it's wild, and it works. It's one of the most unique games I've played this year, and it proves that even a crab can be the hero of an epic adventure. Pacific Drive is unlike anything I've played. It's a survival game, a driving sim, and a weird science fiction thriller all wrapped into one. You're trapped in a surreal version of the Pacific Northwest where nature and reality are breaking apart, and your only companion is a beat-up station wagon. And let me tell you, that car becomes your lifeline. I spent hours modifying and repairing it, adding upgrades and watching it evolve into this armored survival beast. Every trip into the zone feels like a gamble. You're fighting radiation storms, warped anomalies, and rogue machines, all while managing fuel, supplies, and sanity. The atmosphere is dense and eerie, with haunting audio design that constantly keeps you on edge. What really hooked me is how personal the journey feels. You're not a hero, you're a scavenger, surviving one trip at a time. It's stressful, strange, and unforgettable in the best way possible. Replaying Until Dawn in its remake form was like stepping into a nightmare I thought I knew, only now it's scarier, smarter, and more cinematic than ever. The upgraded visuals are phenomenal, with realistic facial animations that really bring out the fear and emotion in every character. The story, this twisted, branching horror tale of 8 friends trapped in a mountain lodge, remains one of the best narrative horror experiences I've had, but this version tightens everything. The pacing is better, the QTEs are less janky, and the added scenes deepen some of the relationships. I still felt the tension of making snap decisions, knowing one wrong move could cost a character their life. And the butterfly effect system? It hits harder now, especially when you see the consequences play out in higher detail. It reminded me why I fell in love with interactive horror in the first place, and it's even better the second time around. And there you have it, 20 recently released games that truly deserve a 10 out of 10. Whether you're into horror, RPGs, action, or just unique storytelling, this list has something for every kind of gamer. Which one's your favorite? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more awesome gaming content. Thanks for watching.
Hannah. Hello? Hannah! Oh my god, you must be freezing. Here, take my coat. I'm such an idiot. I'm so dumb.